All right, guys. Your essential question is, how do we write the equations of hyperbolas? So we're still going to be talking about hyperbolas. Don't forget that your quiz is due, and then we're going to have a test over this next week at some point. Okay, let's do a quick review. If you did not write down the foci formula for hyperbola, here's your chance to write it down. It's c squared equals a squared plus b squared. Just like we talked about a second ago, whenever you see that minus sign, like Cole just said, that lets me know it's a hyperbola. It is equal to 1, like Laura said. That's crucial also. And then notice that the x squared and the y squared, both of those are squared. So just a quick review. What is the equation always equal to? It's always got to be equal to 1. That's right. Now, if the x comes first, is it horizontal or vertical? Horizontal. If the y comes first, then it's vertical. And then question 4, the vertices and the foci, there you go, vertices and the foci are always on the same axis. I always say foci, but it's really focis. All right, so go ahead and take a second and write down your first example. And here's the first example. So we're going to do 2 of each. It says, write an equation of the hyperbola that has a vertice at 0, 3 and 0, negative 3. And it has foci at 0, 5, 0, negative 5. So guys, what I would do is write down what's in red and write down what's in blue. And also write down the word hyperbola. So write down an equation of the hyperbola that has a vertices at 0, 3, 0, negative 3, and foci at 0, 5, 0, negative 5. So make sure you got that down. All right, so here's what I'm going to do for this problem. The first thing, and also it doesn't mention this, but it should. This hyperbola is centered at 0, 0. So guys, I'm going to make that note right quick. So this is hyperbola is centered at 0, 0. And that's going to be given. So we're just going to be looking at the ones that are centered at 0, 0. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a couple of notes. First thing I notice is you see my vertices, the 3 and the negative 3. What position are those values in? The x or the y? They're in the y position, all right? So what that tells me, because this is a hyperbola, that means that I'm not going to have the x squared term first. I'm going to have the y squared term first. So that's what's different about this than an ellipse. So see, it's 0, 3, 0, negative 3. That lets me know the y squared is going to come first. If it would have been the other way around, 3, 0, negative 3, 0, then it would have been the x term. So just whatever position the number's in, that's what comes first. Now, just like Laura said a second ago, it's going to be equal to 1, so I know that. And the next thing I know is this part right here, just like with an ellipse, you see it's 0, 3, 0, negative 3. Doesn't matter how you do it. What is 3 squared and negative 3 squared? What do they both give you either way? 9. So guess what's going to go up underneath the y squared? The 9. That's right. So put y squared over 9. But here's the question. The question is, what goes up underneath the x? Because you've got to be careful. With a hyperbola, there are no covertices. You remember covertices with ellipse? There are no covertices with your hyperbola. So the only other piece of information I tell you is that your foci are at 0, 5, 0, negative 5. So guys, I want you to notice that when it says foci, then that means that's the value of c. So in this case, c is 5, which means that c squared would be what? 25. Now that doesn't mean 25 goes there, guys, right? Because remember, if you go back and look at that last slide, it's b squared. So this is why you had to write down that formula. Remember, the formula is c squared equals a squared plus b squared. So you know what c squared is now, it's 25. You know what a squared is now, it's 9. And then just solve this for b squared. You don't even have to take the square root. Just solve it for b squared, and you get 16 is b squared. And so that's the number that goes underneath there. And so that would be the equation of my hyperbola. Y squared over 9 minus x squared over 16 is equal to 1. And that would be the equation for that. All right, guys, so for this one, it is a generic, general form of a hyperbola. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group and move. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group the y's first. So y squared minus 24y minus 9x squared minus 90x, and I'm going to move the 333 over to the other side. So that's no different than what we've been doing. All right, now think back to an ellipse. What do you think the next step is to do? Factor. Yeah, now this is where there's a little bit of trick. The 4 is easy. Take out the 4. That'll leave you y squared minus 6y. Leave a space. And then, here's the trick, though, guys. You need to put a star right here. It's not the fact that it's a positive 9. What type of 9 is that? So guys, when you take out that -9, I want you all to see this, what's going to happen to this sign right here? It's a -90, and you divide it by a -9, so what's going to get? That's positive. So let me change that color so you can see it. So does everybody see why this is +10? If you see that, that's good. So you just took out that -9, okay? So we'll still leave a space. That's the hard part, okay? If you can catch that, then you're good to go. Now you're going to do it the same way. Let's complete the square. Half of 6 is 3. 3 squared is +9. But don't just add 9 over here. 9 times 4, right? 9 times 4 is 36. So I'm going to put plus 36 right there. And then let's complete the square. Here, half of 10 is 5. 5 squared is 25. But here's what's the kicker, guys. You're not going to put plus 25 here, because what did you take out right here? Yeah, you took out a -9 for the most part, guys. So you're going to need to multiply 25 times -9, and that gives me -225. So that's also a kicker right there, 25 times a -9. Well, that's it. Now you just rewrite it. So this is going to be 4 y minus 3 squared minus 9 x plus 5 squared equals whatever 333 plus 36 minus 225 is, that gives me 144. And then we're almost done. What's the last thing you got to do to this problem? Divide everything by 144. And so here's what you're going to get. 144 divided by 4, so you're going to get y minus 3 squared over 36, and then x plus 5 squared over whatever 144 divided by 9 is, that's 16, equals to 1. And that would be the equation of my hyperbola.